Welcome back, folks, to hashtag AskGSM, the weekly Monday Back video where I answer your questions from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube right here in the studio forum. Lots of great questions this week, including a few that were from last week that I just so happened to miss over by accident, so I will be answering them here today, including one from Andre G from Facebook. His question was, what would make you stop watching wrestling? So I thought that was a great question. I can't believe I skipped over that last week by accident. I overlooked it. But probably nothing. I think of everything that I've been a fan of in my life, like Monk, Psych, like Disney shit and whatever when I was a kid, stuff like that, Walker, Texas Ranger, the only kind of shows that I think I've ever been a huge fan of that I take to heart, because anything I've become a fan of, I'm a fan of 100%. It's not like half-see for the most part. Usually I either love it or hate it. I don't like it at all. And usually kind of the things that I have been a fan of have ended, like TV shows. Wrestling is not one of those things that ends. It goes on forever. I think maybe the only reason why I would ever stop watching is if it ended, like if WWE closed or something like that and pro wrestling was a thing of the past. Is it completely out of the question? Maybe not. I mean, it really all kind of depends on the declining popularity. But someone asked me a couple months ago, do you ever think that they're ever going to close, wrestling will ever stop? If it ever did, probably no time in the near future. At like in my lifetime, maybe longer down the road. Not while WWE is still a global empire. But probably nothing to answer your question. I don't think there's nothing over the last. I mean, I've been watching for so long by this point. I know 6 years is not a long time to a lot of people, and a lot of people may agree. I mean, you watch for so long that it's really hard to get out of it. And some people say maybe. I mean, it's different for me because I started watching when I was, I don't know. I'm 19 now. 6 years ago, so I started watching when I was 12 because I started watching before my birthday that year in '08. So by this point, it's been long enough where it's kind of like it's what I do too. Like as part of my I write for websites and stuff. All of these things are wrestling oriented. So you take wrestling into my life, there's like a big chunk that it's a part of me basically. It's part of my identity. And taking that away from me I wouldn't be who I am right now. So probably nothing to answer your question, unless the wrestling stopped by some circumstance, and nothing is ever going to make me stop watching wrestling. His second question was, what are your top 3 favorite Booker T matches? So, of course, I was not a fan during his initial run in WWE from 2000 to 2007, I want to say. Or 2001, I want to say, I'm sorry. So that, and did not watch much of his work in TNA. I got into it in late '08, and he left in late '09. And he didn't do many great things in TNA anyway, but from the matches that I've seen on the network and stuff like that, my favorite Booker T matches, I mean, these are okay matches. Like I said before, I haven't seen many Booker matches, so it's really hard to rank them, but his matches with Batista in late '06 I thought were good. The Survivor Series one in 2006 I thought was very, very good. His match with Triple H at WrestleMania 19, not a great match. I talked about that in my WrestleMania 19 review here on the channel, cheap plug. But, I mean, it was not a great match, but of the Booker T matches that I've seen, it was pretty good for what it was, for being WrestleMania worthy, I guess. And his match with Benoit that I recently watched on the 2005 edition of Survivor Series on the network, I thought that was very, very good as well. So those 3 matches, I think, would probably rank as my favorite Booker matches. I would have to go back and watch more. I haven't seen many Booker matches in my time as a wrestling fan. I mean, watching as it is, like his match with Cody Rhodes from 2011 wouldn't be on my favorite matches for Booker T ever. But, going back in the network, watching those, I guess would be my favorite Booker matches. But that list is bound to change as I am exposed to more WWE network stuff or stuff on the network. Paul Leslie's got a few questions here. One question was from last week, so I should answer this now. But is it wise for the Sheamus and Rusev feud to continue? So like I said, he asked this last week before we had the rematch for the U.S. title on Raw that same night. Some people have said, from what I heard, that they don't want to see the feud continue. I thought both matches were very good. I thought the second one was better than the first. It might have been the atmosphere in England, whatever, but I thought that was a very good match. And I would have no problem with them resuming that feud going into TLC in December. Because right now they're on Team Authority and Team Cena respectively. So they can start that feud up again in time for TLC. I'd be completely fine with that. Sheamus had his rematch. It's one and done. Maybe he wins a contenders match again, a number 1 contenders match. I can't really tell you. I don't know. But I would have absolutely no problem with that continuing through the end of the year before you move Rusev into something else going on the road to WrestleMania. So, yeah, I think it is wise for the feud to continue. They will be on opposite teams at Survivor Series. Like I said before, maybe they can have another match at TLC, maybe a tables match or something like that for the U.S. title. Give Rusev something to do for the time being. That is if Sheamus doesn't turn heel. If Sheamus goes heel at Survivor Series like I want him to, then no, obviously. But if he doesn't go heel, unfortunately, then we can get the continuation of that feud going into TLC. The second question was, do you perceive Ryback as a WWE champion someday? It's hard to say whether we can see Ryback go back to the status he was at before the whole D pushing back in 2013 and going all downhill from the heel turn. I mean, it was all downhill for him before that. He never really got a big pay-per-view win after losing to CM Punk and the Shield and the Royal Rumble and Mark Henry for some odd fucking reason. But still, though, I think he was on a massive roll back then. If there was any time to put the belt on him, it would have been at that point in time. But if he continues to gain popularity as a babyface, he's been back for maybe 3 weeks now. He's been doing pretty damn well for himself. I mean, he was the star of the show on both Raw and SmackDown last week as I filmed this. And he should be a part of the Survivor Series match. I mean, we'll find out more tonight on Raw. If you're watching this after the fact, you'll probably know. But I think he can, if he can continue to track, if they can keep the course with him going forward, they can continue to build him up as a threat again, as a legitimate threat, and not people like, oh, he was a loser to John Cena. I can't see him winning that title. Like at that point, you can't push him anymore. Like it's past the point of no return. I think there is still something that you can revive with the Ryback character, that people can see him as a threat to that world title. So I can see him as a champ someday. Like I said before, if they stay the course, yeah, I can see him as a champ, but he might not get above a certain level. Like upper mid card, I think is perfect for him. Main eventer, maybe not at this point in time, but upper mid card, I think might be great for him. But I wouldn't rule a title run for Ryback out of the question. Third question from Paul was, will Dixie Carter sell TNA sometime soon? So there were rumors of her selling the company about a year ago. I remember it was around the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I think I read it while I was watching that pay-per-view. But they were selling it to like Billy Corgan or something like that, and Jeff Jarrett was out of the company shortly thereafter, so a lot of politics and backstage bullshit. Even to this day, they don't even have a TV deal as I record this. They might announce one this week, which is great, but it might not be on a channel that's available to everyone in America, unfortunately. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I really hope so because I'm a TNA fan. I do not want to see them go out of business. But Dixie Carter running the ship is just not the right move. I mean, I guess in 2014, she's never done right by that company for as long as that she's been in charge. She needs to go. They need new management if they want to succeed, in my opinion. So, will she sell it sometime soon? I don't know if she'll sell it anytime soon, but she needs to go regardless. I mean, if you're asking my opinion on whether they need new management, absolutely they do. And I would hope that she sells it to someone that can actually run a wrestling company, because she has no fucking idea what she's doing on the creative side of things and the business side of things, more importantly. So I would like to see Dixie Carter sell TNA to someone that actually knows wrestling. I know the chances of that happening are very slim, but no, I don't see that happening anytime soon. I would like it to happen, but I don't see it happening. His next question was, how long do we have to wait for a Wade Barrett? How long do we have to wait for Wade Barrett to get the push he deserves? So, I mean, he kind of was before he got injured. His Bad News Barrett, the IC title run, I thought that was very good. He was having great matches. So, I mean, he's always got that big push, like a part of the Nexus. I think in early 2012, he was supposed to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. It's all the matter of injuries, that he's gotten laid out with injuries a couple of times over the last couple of years. And that's kind of the reason why his pushes have been derailed, obviously. So it's not his fault. It's not WWE's fault, for the most part. Like, they botched the Nexus bullshit. But I think the push, like he's been getting pushes in the past. It's just the injuries that kind of create a problem, unfortunately. But how long do we have to wait? I'm hoping that when he gets back, either this month or next month or on the road to WrestleMania, he will be pushed right off the bat as Bad News Barrett again. I mean, I'd love to see him go back to Wade Barrett, but Bad News Barrett I'm fine with too because he got that over. Babyface, heel, whatever. I think Bad News is in line for a big push upon his return. He's over enough. He's great in the ring, great on the mic. He's a great wrestler. So hopefully we can see Wade Barrett finally become a world champion at some point in time when he eventually returns. Next question was, does an NXT match at WrestleMania sound okay and wise? I was an advocate of that happening last year at WrestleMania when NXT obviously was not as prominent as it is now. It's becoming more and more prominent as the years go by, obviously. And this was right after the Arrival special, and I was saying that they should have an NXT pre-show match. That obviously never happened. They had no involvement of NXT at WrestleMania whatsoever, with the exception of fan access, which they should do on the network. I know it kind of takes away from the point of being there live, but they should do more WrestleMania bullshit and not the fucking panel. Like, I don't care about that kind of stuff. I don't watch the post shows. I don't watch the pre-shows. And this is coming from someone that watches, like, Superstars. Like, I'm not going to sit through someone, like, I love Alex Riley and Booker T, but I'm not going to sit through a half an hour of them talking about, stuff that we already know and stage stuff and whatever else. Like, they write out their stuff beforehand like everyone else does. It's so scripted. But, anyway, does an NXT match at WrestleMania sound okay and wise? Absolutely. I would love to see that happen. It's a great idea. Like I said before, it should have happened last year. It didn't. Hopefully we can get it this year, whether it be on the main card or the pre-show. We've been getting more NXT matches on like Raw lately and main event. They've been giving it more exposure. Now they're trying to shove the network down our throats. So it would be definitely wise of them to try to promote the NXT brand as big as possible on a big stage such as WrestleMania by having them compete in a match on WrestleMania or maybe at the very least the pre-show. Justin G, he's got a couple of questions as well. I am a big fan of the NXT brand. So much great talent on the developmental roster. Do you think NXT can survive as a brand standalone, as a standalone brand? I'm kind of curious as to what you mean by that. I'm not exactly sure what you meant. I know Triple H in the past has kind of swayed away from calling it a developmental territory because it's not really an OVW-like territory anymore. It is more of a brand, like Triple H has said in interviews in the past. So he does refer to it as a brand. I don't know if you mean like a Raw SmackDown kind of thing, because I do not want to see them get involved with the main roster whatsoever. I think NXT as it is great. Keep it on the network. Keep it away from Raw and SmackDown as much as possible. Keep it different. The production is different. The stage is different. The set is different. All that other kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think keeping it as different as possible from Raw and SmackDown is a wise decision. So keep it as is. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if you mean like make it into a separate company or what, but I mean, what they're doing right now is great, so if it ain't broken, don't fix it. So up next, his question was, as it is Survivor Series month in the WWE, out of all the traditional Survivor Series matchups that you've seen, which team is your favorite to date? Okay, so on the network so far, as I'm recording this, I have watched the 1990, 96, 97, 98, 01, 02, 03, 05, 08, 2011 installments of the Survivor Series. In addition to, watching as a fan, 2010, 2011, like I said before, 2012, 2013 as well. So, going back, like 1990 was all Survivor Series tag team matches. There wasn't really one that stood out to me as being the best. Like the main event was like Hogan, Warrior, and Tito I thought was great, so maybe that one. 96, 97, and 98, there wasn't even a traditional matchup. So I can't say that one. But like from 96 and 97, there wasn't really one team that really stood out to me. Like I said in my reviews here on the channel of those pay-per-views, that neither or any of the traditional matches on those shows really stood out to me as being great. Like they were okay, but they weren't really all that memorable. Just me personally, those are my thoughts on it. 02, there wasn't a traditional matchup. 03, did we get one that year? We did. We got Team Brock, Team Lesnar, and Team Big Show or something like that. Something weird, I don't know. But that was a good match. I can't really remember the team, so I can't say that was my favorite. 05, Team Orton or Team Bischoff and Team Stone Cold. I think Team Bischoff was pretty good. You had Orton, you had Jericho, Christian, and a few others too. I think Carlito maybe. So that was a good matchup. 08, neither of the two matches really stood out to me as being amazing. 2011, like all the recent ones, the traditional matches haven't meant anything anyway. So of the ones that I've seen, probably either the 1990 team of Hogan, Warrior, and Tito, or 05 team Bischoff, which I thought was really stacked. That whole match I thought was great. That whole pay-per-view I thought was stellar. And I'll probably have a review of that show up here on the channel at some point in the near future. His next question was, do you think that the WWE will only turn back to being PG-13 if there's a company that really battles with them for viewers? Good question. I don't see them going back to PG-13. I don't want to say ever, at least anytime soon. I don't know what company out there can potentially rival them, because WWE, like I said earlier on in the video, is such a media monster, such a global empire, I think is what I said earlier, that no one's going to overthrow them, at least anytime soon. Maybe people thought that in like the 80s and 90s and WCW came along. Anything can happen. I'm not going to rule that completely out of the question, but as it stands right now, TNA is pretty much dead in the water. Ring of Honor is no competition. Lucha Underground is great. I mean, I've talked about this here on the show before, but Lucha Underground is no competitor for WWE on their level, at least. So maybe if they did have competition, they would go back to PG-13. I think it's not the rating that's the problem. I think I mean, people blame the quality of the content. I mean, yeah, sure, the content may have been better back in the 90s, and people say, oh, it was better then because it was PG-13, now it's only PG. I don't really blame it on the rating. Maybe I'm just biased because my entire run as a wrestling fan has been in the PG era since back in '08, right around the time they went PG. But it's really no different. I know you can get away with seeing boobs on TV and stuff like that, like language, but does that really help improve the quality of the product? Just saying like boobs and shit and ass and stuff like that really isn't. We get that now every once in a while. Like I mean, seeing it every week isn't going to increase ratings or anything like that, in my opinion, anyway. But even if there was a company that did battle them like WCW did back in the day for Monday Night Wars and stuff like that, then maybe I wouldn't bet on it. Though I highly doubt it because they do so much charity stuff now. The WWE has completely reinnovated its image since the Attitude Era 15 years ago. So no, I don't see that being possible. I mean, there is a chance, but I wouldn't bet on it happening though. His next question was, do you think the WWE Network will ever post content from shows like Velocity, Sunday Night Heat, and Confidential? I hope so. I mean, I know a lot of people didn't care about Sunday Night Heat. It's like, oh, it was like their version of Superstars back in '05. Maybe, but there was a lot of fucking great matches on those shows. So it's not a big selling point. Like I'm gonna buy the network for Velocity. I'm gonna buy it for Sunday Night Heat. But I mean, it would be cool though. I would love to see them incorporate old episodes of those shows on the WWE Network. Like I said before, I don't see that being a big priority right now. There's a lot of other content they need to put on the network before old episodes of Velocity, Heat, and Confidential. Confidential especially, because those are like some really interesting episodes about stuff that was going on in the early 2000s and stuff like that, like the Montreal Screwjob and Stone Cold leaving the company in '02 and quitting and all that kind of stuff. Like that would be really cool. They use footage from that and like the rivalries thing. I know they used it for maybe Beyond the Ring, maybe one of the Monday Night Wars episodes. But that show of the ones that you mentioned, I think is the one they should put all the archived episodes up because I would really be intrigued to really be interested in watching those and seeing how things have changed since the early 2000s and stuff like that. But my co-host RJ from WrestleRant Radio, his question was, are you somewhat excited that the Great Khali was released? So yeah, I guess somewhat. I think the way that you put it, I think is perfect. I guess somewhat is the best way to describe it. I'm not going to say I'm happy over seeing someone lose their job, but yeah, I mean, Great Khali really had no business being in WWE in 2014, much less at all, because the guy could never wrestle. He was more of an attraction than anything else, but he just was never good. I know, like, Big Show's an attraction, Kane's an attraction. Kane's more of a character than he is an attraction, like Andre was. But at least Andre and Big Show, I mean, Big Show especially, but even Andre at least was halfway decent in the ring. He can have a decent match. Great Khali has never had a great match. Has never even had a good match in his WWE career. He's had a few ones here and there over the last, 6-7 years that he's been with the company. Like he's had good matches with. I struggle to figure this out. The match with Cena at One Night Stand I thought was good. His match with Triple H at SummerSlam '08 I thought was decent. I mean, it wasn't a great match at all, but I mean, for what it was maybe that was good. I don't know. Whatever you classify as good, it's all subjective. But yeah, I am kind of released, if only because you kind of predicted it too, RJ. Last week on WrestleRant Radio, you said I will not be content until Hornswoggle, I think you said Torito too, and Khali are gone, and now one of those three are gone. So they are kind of psychic in that sense. But yeah, I am excited that the Great Khali is gone. Like I said, hate to see a guy lose his job, but he's doing acting. I think he's a police officer over in India. The guy's going to be fine. He's going to find work like that. So I'm not concerned for his future at all. But I know he wasn't even on TV nowadays all that much, but to see him pop up and the guy could hardly even walk to the ring, it's very sad to see. So I'm glad that he's kind of gone and faded out for good. I mean, he's done this before in that, I mean, he leaves the company and then comes back a couple months later. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping he's actually done for good now, but only time will tell. Hosea B, if I mispronounce your name, I really do apologize. Maybe you can educate me on that. I know I've enunciated it wrong before, but I'm sorry about that. But his question was, right now there's only 3 matches planned for Survivor Series, probably with a tag match to be added. What else do you see being on the card? So of course he asked us on Sunday. I'm filming this on Monday afternoon. So by Raw tonight we should have a few more matches. If we don't, I'd be really concerned for the show. Because like he said, we've got the big multi-man main event, obviously. We have the Divas title match and Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose, and maybe the tag team title match on the show as well. The pre-show, like it's been rumored, I can see Adam Rose versus the Bunny. I did not want to see that, but I mean, there's really not much else you can do with all the champions being in the main event. There's a slight chance they pull Ziggler out of the main event and have him defend the IC title at Survivor Series. And then in his spot, they put in, I don't know, Orton or something. And then on Team Authority, you put on Cesaro. I have no fucking idea. But as of right now, I don't know what else you can really add. Because like I said before, the U.S. champion and the IC champion are in the main event of Survivor Series as of right now. Brock Lesnar is not working the show. One of the many problems with him being champion. I don't want to get into a huge rant about that right now. It's not his fault. And I'm, glad he's champion and all, but WWE should have had him work this show by far. But anyway, I do think what other matches could be added? Like I said before, Adam Rose versus the Bunny. I was thinking about this last week, but there isn't many matches that you can add. Maybe an NXT match. We talked about that on Wrestle Right Radio last week, like a Team Zayn versus Team Neville, or Team Neville versus Team Breeze. I don't fucking know, but something like that I think would be great. To not only give them free exposure, because the network is free anyway all month long. So, I mean, not for us day one subscribers, but that's another rant for another day. So I could see an NXT match or something like that, something involving Tyson Kidd maybe. I'm not really sure, but hopefully we get more clarification on that come Monday Night Raw tonight. And Marachi had a very good question that I skipped over last week by accident. Via Twitter, his question was, when will your Push to Punish series return? So anyone that's not familiar with it, I did write a series of articles for Bleacher Report dating back all the way back to like early 2011. Push to Punish, where I analyzed the careers of superstars who were, it's self-explanatory, but that were once pushed and that have since been punished for a variety of reasons. I've talked about Wade Barrett, Mr. Kennedy, Matt Hardy, MVP, the great Khali, and ironically enough, so many superstars. I think I did 40 editions, and the last set I did was earlier this year, and I was going to have it return in August, but I could not find the time, unfortunately. I was working a lot, and I was on vacation and whatever else, so I could not have done it in August. I know I got some people's hopes up as they announced that I'd be doing it in August again, and I failed to deliver on that, so I apologize. And I was going to do it this month in November. Again, I've been busy, so I'm hoping to do it maybe in December, if not in January, at least sometime in the upcoming months. I do have a plan to continue the series. I'm going to try to do, because right now I've written 40 articles and Push to Punish 40 editions, so I'm going to try to get to 50 at some point. Maybe I'll stop there. I don't know if I'll continue or not, but right now the plan is to get to 50. I've got 10 left in me. Usually I do 5 at a time and then do 5 another couple months later. So the next 5 editions that I'll be writing, hopefully will be coming to you either in December or January. So stay tuned for that. More information on my Facebook page and Twitter. I'll be talking a little bit more about that as the time progresses. But good question, though. I was going to announce that at some point, so it kind of ties into this, though. Good question. His second question was, is there a possibility of the Nexus stable ever reuniting? Maybe a slight chance. I mean, I had a dream scenario with someone on Twitter a couple of weeks ago and how we would reunite them, bring Barrett, Bryan, who was, I would bring them back as baby faces. We saw the heel thing before. I don't know how they work as baby faces, but it'd be interesting at least. But they could rival the Authority, and Bryan's has been the biggest thorn in the Authority side since the formation of the group back in 2013, so having him lead the way would be great. So you include Barrett as a babyface, Bryan, Ryback, maybe Darren Young, then you replace like Otunga Slater and Gabriel with guys like Sami Zayn or an Adrian Neville maybe in place of Gabriel and all this other kind of stuff. Maybe Axel, I don't really know. But it would be cool. I would mark the fuck out if we heard We Are One on WWE TV one more time by 12 Stones. Great song. But I definitely don't have my money on it. I do not expect them to get back together. I mean, Michael Tarver is the only one from that group that is not currently employed by the company, but David Otunga, like I said in last week's video, has no business being in WWE right now. He has fucking done nothing. So he needs to go at some point. But like Slater and Gabriel have done nothing since the Nexus, for the most part. And so bringing them back together, I mean, people would be like, I mean, for newer fans, like, what the fuck is this? Bringing these two losers back into this group, I mean, no one would care about it for the most part. But if you get the right players, like if it's Barrett, Ryback, and Bryan maybe, I know they don't like to reference Ryback's pass and Skip Sheffield, but maybe you can in this one instance. I don't really know. But yeah, I think the chances of that happening are very, very slim. I would mark out. It would be great for me, but I think probably just leaving it as it is and not going back to that will, even though it would be cool though. Maybe at some point down the line. Just I don't see it ever happening for the most part, but if it's going to happen, probably later down the line. At Ambrose311, his question was, who do you think should be John Cena's last member, Ryback or Randy Orton? I predict Randy Orton as a surprise on the night of Survivor Series. I could see that happening. I think Randy Orton should make his presence known no matter what, because it's his hometown of St. Louis, so they would be asinine to not include him on that show. I'd have to go with Ryback, because I think, I've talked about this before, but I think having the Orton team with Cena, 1 month removed from their Hell in a Cell match, like these two big rivals are now teaming together, like a month apart, like that makes no sense to me. And Randy Orton doesn't like anyone on Team Cena, so I'd say no to that answer because I want Randy Orton to be more of his own guy and more of an anti-hero, not a full-fledged babyface, and I'm afraid that putting him on that team would cement him as such. So I wouldn't do that. I would just have him interfere. That's my booking anyway. And then have Ryback on the team because I think Ryback probably needs it more. Being in the main event of a pay-per-view, I think it'd be great for him. At Brad Bradar, his question was, did you like the Road to WrestleMania storylines in the WWE games? And if so, which one was your favorite? I played all the storylines, like all the story modes and all the SmackDown and Raw games and WWE 12, whatever. I think WWE 12 was the last one to feature because I know WWE 13 had like the Attitude Era storyline mode. I'm confused as to what you're talking, like which one you're referring to because there's been so many. Like, and I know in like SVR 05 or 06, 07, and 08. You do like this long Road to WrestleMania storyline. It's the same every year, depending on the choices that you make. It all kind of really depends. I think in 09, when you get to choose a superstar, if I'm doing that correctly, I think it's 09, 2010, and 2011 that you get to pick a superstar, and you do their Road to WrestleMania. Like I like Christian's, like the one with Tony. I think it's from 09 with John Cena. Like that was really fucking random. Like a lot of these looking back like really, really bad, but they were fun to play as at the time. But if anything, I think the one in WWE 12 I thought was great. The whole United Kingdom stable with Barrett, Regal, Sheamus, and McIntyre I thought was really, really cool. You get to be a rookie, you get to do Triple H's storyline. There's a lot of cool stuff that you get to do in that game. So probably the WWE 12 one if it applies to your question. I don't know if it does, but that was I thought really, really cool to play as. The second question was, what is your favorite WWE Superstar DVD documentary? CM Punk's hands down. I thought Ultimate Warriors on the WWE Network was phenomenal. That's probably up there as my favorite doc of all time, even though it was an hour. Even if you're not the biggest Warrior fan, I think you can watch that and say that it was really good. I mean, being the biggest Warriors fan that I am, being the huge Warrior fan that I am, maybe I'm biased, but I thought that was phenomenal, this the way they put that together in such a short period of time and whatever, right after his passing. It makes me tear up every single time I watch it. Not afraid to even say that, but anyway. So yeah, I think DVD documentary. I thought CM Punk's was amazing. Mick Foley's was really good. Batista's I liked the first one, not the second one. Jeff Hardy's was okay. Edge's and Jericho's I also really liked, but my favorite would have to be CM Punk's. I thought that was great. I've watched it like 5 times and I never get bored of it. I think it's phenomenal. At Swagzio, their question was, what was the worst match in WWE so far this year, in your opinion? And he said in parentheses, Divas matches, comedy, and squash matches don't count. The only real match that comes to mind, we've had a lot of bad matches, but nothing, I mean, you take all those out, that takes out like a lot of what I was going to say. But the Cena and Wyatt match at Extreme Rules, maybe I'm the only one. I know a few people who thought the same thing, maybe not to the level that I thought it was, but I thought that match was atrocious. That was fucking terrible. The WrestleMania match was not great either. But of the 3 matches they had, I thought this was by far the worst. Way too much interference. Wyatt got a shitty win. Fucking campy bullshit. Kid at the corner of the cage and singing. And that really jumped the shark. I thought that was really dumb. So, yeah, probably Wyatt and Cena from Extreme Rules. If anything, it was a disappointing match. I know I've said that here on the show before. Someone asked me my favorite, the most disappointing matches I've seen all year. That would definitely rank up there as being one of the most disappointing. But that was also very, very bad, so I would have to put that up there as one of the worst matches in 2014 so far. I mean, 2014 isn't over yet. I mean, we can get a terrible match. Like last year at this time, we had Big Show and Randy Orton at Survivor Series, which I thought was one of, if not the single worst match of 2013. So, we still have a lot of time left. So I may speak too soon, but only time will tell. At Zach Donegan, he's got 3 questions here. Using 10 divas, what is your dream divas roster? Quick here: Trish, Lita, Chyna, AJ, Paige, Mickey, Beth, Victoria, Sable, and Sunny. Second question. I don't have much time here, so I got to rush through these last 3. But which would you rather book and why? Raw, SmackDown, or NXT? I mean, Raw. I mean, why wouldn't? I mean, of those 3 shows, you can say, oh yeah, I was a creative writer for Raw. Like, that's fucking awesome. But if I had to take a choice of the current landscape, if you're talking about like a 3-hour Raw and the 2-hour SmackDowns, we're not going back to like 05 Raw here, where it was still 2 hours Raw, that is. Probably some SmackDowns are relevant, so probably NXT. Because SmackDown, I feel like they just, after Raw one night, after Raw ends, they're like, so what are we gonna do on SmackDown this week? They just make a quick like pencil note, like, you know how they have all these different rewrites for Raw and whatever. For SmackDown, like, they put so much effort into writing Raw, and it still does not come out great. And I give them all the credit in the world, because I know writing a 3-hour show probably is not the easiest thing to do. That kind of goes without saying. But still, though, I think SmackDown they don't care about at all. So there would be, what fun is there in writing SmackDown in 2014? So probably NXT. It's an hour long. There's a lot of great talent to work with. It's the consistently best show that WWE has had for the last year, by far, of 2014 alone, if not 2013 too. So probably NXT in the current landscape, that is. I think I would burn out very quickly if I was running Raw. But this final question: you had to create a dream 10-man Survivor Series elimination match. Who's on each team, and who would you book to win? I usually don't like answering these questions, if only because it's really hard to say. Like, I can't really make up a dream Survivor Series team. Like, there's a lot of people I would pick from, and I don't like these questions in the general. But if I had to make a team, I kind of made this quickly last night, kind of taking the biggest stars of each era. But Cena, Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H, bear with me here, against a team of CM Punk, Stone Cold, The Ultimate Warrior, Bret Hart, and Randy Savage. I think Punk, to me, like, reminds me, I made that latter team what it was, because Punk, there's parts of him that remind me of Stone Cold, there's parts of him that remind me of The Warrior, parts of him, that remind me of Savage, and parts of him that remind me of Hart. So I put all those guys in the same team, and Cena, Hogan, and Rock kind of all go together as, like, you know, the big over-the-top superstars. Shawn Michaels is kind of out of place on that team, but I don't know, I put him more on the babyface side, and Triple H, you know, you got DX on that team, so you have that. But who would I book to win? Probably Punk's team. I mean, you can have Cena's team go over. They would probably win in that scenario, being, you know, the unstoppable babyfaces, but I would have Punk's team win because I think they're awesome. In my opinion, anyway. Those are my favorite wrestlers, favorite legends, anyway. But with that being said, thanks, guys, for watching. Always appreciate it. Lost my voice a few days ago at the Northeast Wrestling Show that I went to, so I apologize for that. And thank you for bearing with me throughout this entire half-an-hour video. But if you want to send in a question, you can tweet me on Twitter at WrestleRant with hashtag AskGSM. You can find me on Facebook at GrahamGSMMatthews. Leave a comment on the wall or on the post I usually put up on Sunday nights, or leave a comment down below on the video. I will be sure to include it in next week's edition. So until then, folks, I'm Graham Jason Matthews, and I will see you guys next Monday.